Hey, it's Willie Crawford here, and I'm doing sort of an impromptu Facebook Live. And in the interest of full disclosure, my real purpose in doing this Facebook Live is to draw your attention to a product I'm promoting by my good friend Marlon Sanders. And so I'll begin by giving you the URL for that. That's at, you can go to williecrawford.org. That's WILLIECRAWFORD.org capital M AR capital M lowercase ARLON. So williecrawford.com/Marlon. That's my real purpose actually in doing this broadcast. But in doing the broadcast, I'm going to deliver on what I promised in my my title. So I titled this Willie Crawford, or I titled it Marlon Sanders, Mike Filsame, and Willie Crawford Exposed. I think that most people probably don't know. So I'll begin with Marlon, because I want you to check out Marlon's product again. Marlon started on the internet probably around, I don't know. I started in 1996, so he was probably around 1994, maybe 1993. And when I first came online, I didn't notice him right away. I noticed Jim Daniels somewhere in there. But Marlon was an internet marketing pioneer, and that's why I bring him up. And even Mike Filsaime mentions learning a lot from him. And I thank you, Mandy Evans and Ron Douglas, for joining in. Ron is a superstar. Ron made a lot of money from selling cookbooks, and I joke that I'm a better cook than he is, but Ron has been on Home Shopping Network and a lot of places like that, and has sold, I don't know, a ton of cookbooks, and he knows what he's doing. He's very good at what he does, and so I congratulate Ron, and I look up to him, actually. But getting back to Rodney just joined me. Thanks for joining me, Rodney. Getting back to the topic of my discussion, I want to share with you some things you may not know about Marlon, Mike, and myself. And I suppose I'll be I can't remember the word, but self-centered, and start with myself. I grew up extremely poor. I was on welfare all my youth. My mother and father separated when I was about 3, and my father took the 2 oldest boys out of 5 children, and my grandmother ended up with the 3 youngest. My mother got custody of us, but she dropped us off on the farm in North Carolina. She went up to Connecticut, and that's where she lived out her life, and she worked for Pitney Bowes, earning job opportunities were better there back in the 60s, and so that's where she spent her life. And I was raised on a farm in North Carolina where life was hard. I started work when I was about 6, 7 years old. One of my uncles looked at me and he asked my grandmother, "Do you think you can help out on the farm?" And she said, "I don't know, let's try and see." And so I started working in the tobacco fields in North Carolina when I was about 7 years old. So I look at kids today who are still living with their parents, and they're in their teens, or 20s even, and they're still living and depending on their parents for support. And I think, gee, I turned 60 next March, and I've worked there for 50 plus years, 55 years. And so I'm going to semi-retire next year. I'm a lot of stuff that I have that I keep in-house right now, like my cookbook sales, I ship most of those in-house, even though I'm on Amazon. Next year, I'll push that entire operation over to Amazon. The reason I do it today, shipping a lot of books in-house, is because I enjoy personally autographing the books. I have copies right here next to my desk. This is my cookbook. And right now, I'm in the busiest season of the year for my cookbook, so I'll probably I'll do multiple 6 figures in sales, hopefully between now and mid-January. People are looking for recipes for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, or whatever you celebrate in that time frame. I mean, there's Kwanzaa and there's Hanukkah and all that. And then they're looking for New Year's recipes. And so I'll sell a lot of cookbooks. That's my market. That's probably part of Ron's market too, is at the holiday season. I sell more cookbooks in that time frame than the entire rest of the year combined. And so I know my market, and that's what I'll focus on. But I grew up poor. Somewhere in high school, in 11th grade, actually, my guidance counselor noticed that I was pretty intelligent. You know, I was making, I had straight A's in many subjects. I had a 100 average in history, for example. And so my guidance counselor said, well, what college are you going to next year? And I'm like looking at her like, lady, are you crazy? Because nobody in my family had gone to college. And I talked to her for a while, and she said, well, there's grants available and things like that. And I applied to North Carolina State University and UNC Chapel Hill, and they both accepted me. I'd only visited one college in my life, and that was for the state fair. And so I went to NC State University, where I worked 3 part-time jobs and made it through. It took me 5 years, but I switched majors halfway through. I was going to be adopted at one time, and I won't get into why I wanted to be adopted, but I wanted to be a obstetrician because I like babies and those things. But I switched to economics, and I graduated with a degree in business, actually. And then I went into the military. People pointed out to me that ROTC was an easy credit, so I joined the military. And 20 years and 10 months later, I retired. I didn't plan on spending a career in the military, you know, and my introduction to the military was actually quite interesting. I finished college, went to navigator school at Mayfield Air Force Base, California, not too far from where the fires are right now. And then I went through Little Rock Air Force Base, C-130 schoolhouse, they call it. And then I showed up at Pope Air Force Base, October of '83. And they said, don't even unpack your bags. They said, you're going off on this mission. And that was Grenada, Operation Urgent Fury. So I showed up my first base, and within a week of showing up, I'm off to my first war, which was a little war. But it was the first time I ever hauled HRs, or human remains, because we hauled the bodies of killed allies, mostly. I don't think we had that many American soldiers killed. I know there was a SEAL team that jumped in heavy sea conditions, and some of them drowned. But that was my first exposure to war. And since then, I made through 7 wars. And back in 1996, I decided, wait, I have a degree in business, and I've seen the world, and I know how businesses operate. Let me start my own business. So I started an internet-based business. And in 2000, I wrote a cookbook, my cookbook, which I just showed you. And in 2002, Dr. Bob Silver noticed me, and Bob said, Willie, can you come speak at my seminar? And I'm thinking, what's a seminar? I had never been to an internet marketing seminar before that, okay? And Bob said, I'm holding a seminar at Hawks Cay, which is down in Florida Key. It's maybe 2 hours, 2 hours east of Key West. And so I went down there and I spoke. And I was so green at speaking that I didn't even have any slides. I had a couple of notes on index cards, and I stood up and I spoke at that seminar, and that seminar changed my life in numerous ways. One was that I met one of the pioneers of internet marketing, who's Jonathan Mizell. He was one who was hosting seminars in Boulder, Colorado, back in that time frame. And I mentioned Marlon Sanders. Marlon, Declan Dunn, and Jonathan Mizell all hung out together. And I have an interview I did with Marlon where he shares what life was like in the early days of internet marketing, but he shares a lot of other insights. And I'm going to give you the MP3 interview I did with Marlon where he shares that with you. He shared, first of all, that when he first came on stage as a speaker, that the internet marketers were new. The guys back in the day, they sold the same products internet marketers sell today, same products that information marketers sell today, which is the big box and the thud factory. They got on stage and they pitched their product. And when they pitched their products, people ran to the back room and ordered, or they ordered via direct mail. And I'll pause for just a second to acknowledge Rodney Brooks Jr., who just joined me, and Andrew Hayward, who just joined me. Welcome, Andrew. Man on the horn, a musician, very talented. My friend Dr. Mounty from India, Randall Hall, Phyllis Utley, John Halprin, Greg Fay, Tim Felon, Wayne Porter. You guys are super cool. I like this medium, actually. to do a Facebook Live, all you do is you go to your Facebook timeline or your page or your group, and you click on the live button, and you look at yourself and say, am I halfway dressed? My shirt's more wrinkled than I am, probably, hopefully, but I am what I am, so I don't care about that. And then I worry about my background. This is a flag box that I was given when I retired from the military. It's a flag and all my ranks and my ribbons. It's and the other things. These are essential oils, which is something I talk about a lot. This is basil oil, for example. You can see there. I have studied herbal supplements and remedies and things like that for my life, really. And so now I'm into essential oils, and I recommend those to people who have little minor health issues or even major health issues. I've studied like 300 different herbal supplements or remedies, and so people come to me and say, Willie, I've got lower back pain or inflammation, or my blood pressure's high, whatever, and I can say, well, why don't you try this? And I do that. So that's why I have this stuff sitting on my desk next to me, but I also use it a lot myself. For example, I use lavender to relax me, to calm me, to get me into a state where I can focus, be more focused. And I noticed Chuck Burke, John Hawes, Matt Gill, you guys all joining me. It's like, that's the thing. See, I do Facebook Lives every day in a group that's about marketing. And in that group, I talk about marketing because I figure most of the friends on my timeline aren't interested in the topic of marketing. I mean, I've got high school classmates and college classmates and military buddies and relatives. Most of those people aren't interested in marketing, but they are actually interested in making a living, making more money. They're interested in two things, and that's my focus right now. As I end my 60th journey around the sun, I asked them, so what are you going to do for people? What are you really doing for people? And my answer, hopefully, is making a difference in their lives. And I noticed that most people don't have enough money. That's their biggest struggle. One of their biggest struggles. I mean, there's relationships and things like that too, but and health issues. I'm big on health issues. You'll see me talking a lot about that in the next coming months. Actually, I'm very big on that because I'm about 60 years old. I was one of 5 boys. 2 out of the 5 are deceased, and those 2 bracketed me. I was the middle child, so my oldest brother, my baby brother, and I are still alive, 3 of us, and I talk to the baby brother every week. The one a year and a half older than me, and I'm 1 year and a half younger than I. They both passed away at age 45, so I've outlived both of them by 15 years. So I'm just like, okay, so God, or whatever you believe in, kept me around for some reason, and I have to ask myself, what is that reason? And I think that reason is to make a difference in people's lives, okay? So let me get back on topic, and I named this, Marlon Sanders, Mike Filsame, and Willie Crawford Exposed. I've just exposed myself to you, and I'm dedicated to making a difference in people's lives. And I study successful people, and many of those successful people are millionaires and billionaires. So I study people like Warren Buffett, who's the 3rd richest person in America. Jeff Bezos is first, and Bill Gates is second, and Warren is 3rd. But Warren gives away 95% of his earnings to charitable causes. So, but Warren teaches that the worst thing you can do is get in debt. So don't spend money you don't have, okay? And so one of my missions is to teach people how to get out of debt. And the other mission is to teach people how to earn extra money so that they don't have to worry about that whole topic, I'm at a point where I have a tremendous advantage over most of you, in that I spent 20 years in the military, and during that time I qualified for a pension. And then I looked back at my life, and I was evaluated for disability, and I'm coming up on being eligible for Social Security. And those 3 things together will push me well over 6 figures per year. And the disability is tax-free, so I'll have a spending power equivalent to somebody making $130,000, $140,000 a year just from that. So if I never work another day in my life, never do anything. Just drop everything. Just forget all the things I've done for the past 22 years over the internet, and the assets I've built from that, and things I've built from offline connections. It's still extremely powerful. And I noticed that Jocelyn Burns and Melody Thacker and Greg Mears and Tim Bennett over in the Philippines were about 14 hours ahead of us. I noticed these guys all joining me. So one of the things I wanted to see, because it's all about testing and experimenting when you're doing marketing, one of the things I wanted to see was, what's the best time to broadcast? I do broadcasts every day at 10 o'clock Central. And now I'm seeing that, well, I don't know, that's not a better time than this time. The thing that I'm noticing is better is to broadcast from my timeline where I have 5,000 followers. But I want to push people over to my page. Let me grab a drink of water because my throat's getting dry from jibber jabbering and from I went out for a walk earlier in the cold night areas, dropping into the 40s at night here in Florida, which is cold for Florida. And so my throat's a little scratchy. But that's me. That's me. I'm successful, I think. And let's transition to Marlon. In 2002, I was exposed to Jonathan Mizell, who Marlon and Declan Dunn they all grew up together. And I want to give you an interview I did with Marlon, but there's a catch there. I want you to purchase Marlon's training, and Marlon's training, I'm going to give it to you all now, which is Willie, and never type when I'm talking, williecrawford.org. And I'm putting a space between the dot and the org in typing it into the browser window. And there's a reason for that, and that is that Facebook tends to look at links and parse them and thinking, wait, we'd rather you buy an ad from us than give you some free advertising. So they tend to block links. So it's williecrawford.org/Marlon. I still need some water. Go check that out. I want you to purchase Marlon's package. And when you do, I'm going to give you two things as bonuses. The first one is an interview I did with Marlon, where I started a site called the Internet Marketing Inner Circle like around 2005, maybe 2004. I don't know. And in that site, one of the things I offered my members was a series of about 60 interviews I did. I called people up on the phone. I interviewed them for an hour on average, typically. Marlon and Mike were two of the people I interviewed. So I want to give you Marlon's interview and Mike's interview, MP3s, as a bonus. So williecrawford.org/Marlon and make the M in Marlon uppercase. Okay, grab that. Then let me know that you grabbed it. And when you do, I'll send you the interviews I did with Marlon and Mike. So let me move on to Marlon. Marlon started online about 2004, and I've learned so much from him. He started out as a copywriter, and while I was still in high school, he started out as a copywriter. Then I went through college and then the military, and Marlon gradually transitioned to the internet. But he understands psychology at a far deeper level than I do, and I'm still feeling like coughing, which messes up my recordings, but it is what it is. I guess I should have used some of my essential oils to soothe my throat, because some of them can't do it. Now I want to thank Jeff McCulloch for joining us, and Suzanne Durrett, who used to live in the Fort Walton Beach area. She moved away, and her and her husband are out west somewhere now. But I looked at her and it's like, wow, she's gorgeous. But I won't say that publicly, but I think she is. Thank you for joining me, Suzanne, and I look forward to seeing you and your husband, meeting you and your husband sometime in the near future. I studied what Marlon was doing, but as I interviewed Marlon mentioned that when he first came online, all the information marketers were, on stage selling the same as we do today, but that the internet marketers were outsiders. And so he talked about what it takes to break into a circle as an outsider. And that's very insightful, and Marlon's product, which I'm recommending, and you can check out again at williecrawford.org/Marlon, make the M in Marlon, M-A-R-L-O-N, make the M uppercase. I'm encouraging you to get that when you do. Again, I'm offering an interview I did with Marlon and an interview I did with Mike Filsaime as a bonus. So to get your bonus, you need to let me know your purchases. And you can do that by emailing me, willie.crawford@gmail.com. I'll type that into the box too. So it's willie.crawford@gmail.com. Or you can even text me my cell phone number. And I give that to you not to encourage you to call me, because I get so many calls, and most of them are from, a lot of them, too many are from telemarketers. And so I tend to screen my calls. I keep my cell phone next to me at all times, but I sometimes silence it. This is the iPhone X or iPhone 10. Way the heck too expensive. It's like I spent almost $1,100 with all the features I have on mine. But you can text me 850-621-2116. You can see I don't hide from my audience members. I'm very guarded of my time, actually, but I don't hide from you. And so you can reach out to me by email or text, or you can send me a message via Facebook Messenger saying, hey, Willie, I bought Marlon's product, which is less than the cost of a pizza. And I went to Marlon's product. I went to his training. See, it's a training program. It's 21 days where Marlon is sharing with you little known things that he discovered that made a difference in his business life. And it's a lot of his resources. He says it's 21 days, and when you log into the site, it shows that day one is unlocked, and then day two is unlocked after on the second day. But as a spoiler, and it may piss off Marlon, but I don't care. He's out in San Antonio. He can't come over to Florida, and it was a 13-hour drive over to Florida for him to kick my butt. So the spoiler is he does unlock all the lessons after the first lesson. So if you're like me, who went through the whole course in a day and a half, because I had other things sprinkled in there, but he has videos, he has some stuff to read. He points you to resources that most people don't know about. So when he talks about things like finding traffic, he shows you some resources there that most people don't know about. I mean, he shows you these little known things that most internet marketing gurus won't teach you about because they don't know about them. Marlon's been in business for 25 years or whatever online, and he just knows of things that most of us don't know about. And so that's why I'm pushing his product, and I am asking you to go check it out. You don't have to buy it if you don't want to, but again, that's at williecrawford.org/Marlon with the M in Marlon uppercase. And I noticed my friend Ellen Violette just joined us, and Steffi Mulak just joined us. Ellen and I'm a contributing author to a book, so I co-wrote a book with her that I'll be telling you about soon. But it was a bestseller, an Amazon bestseller, and now a traditional publisher has picked it up because it was so good. And that's one of numerous books that I've either written or been a contributing author on. So welcome, Ellen, from out on the West Coast, and Stephanie Mulak. Stephanie, I go back a long way. So I visited Steffi in Las Vegas with her family and instantly fell in love with her two daughters. And now they're young ladies. I guess they're close to 20 years old, but they were like little tiny children then. And I so attached to them, and my wife was too, that, I'll always be friends with Steffi and her daughters. So back to, I've covered Marlon. Marlon and we talk about things that nobody else can share with you in my interview with him. And so I want you to get that MP3 interview, but again, I'm going to bribe you by saying you need to grab his product in order to get it. And the same thing with Mike Filsaime. I titled this Exposed. So Mike Filsaime, he was, I think he managed several car dealerships when I first came across him, but He was out on the Internet Marketing Warrior discussion forum, as was Russell Brunson, and they were asking a lot of questions, learning a lot. And then Mike decided he was going to launch a product eventually, and that became Butterfly Marketing. And Mike and I were connected over ICQ. That's ICQ, the letters ICQ. That was before Skype was big, and ICQ stands for I Seek You. And so Mike reached out to me and he said, Willie, I'm getting ready to do this product launch. Can you look over my sales page? And I looked at it and pointed out a few errors on its page, and Mike launched Butterfly Marketing. Now, when Mike launched Butterfly Marketing, most of the gurus, most of the big dogs didn't pay any attention to him. It's like, who is this Mike Filsame dude, you know? So he reached out to them and he said, you know, can you promote my product? And most probably didn't respond. And that the topic of the interviews I did with these 60 or so gurus was, how do you break into the inner circle? If you're an unknown, you know, if you're a nobody, how do you get the big dogs to play with you? And that's a topic that I became an expert on. And today I work as a joint venture broker, but I'm not looking for any new clients. I'm actually quite expensive because I don't want to work on a lot of projects. I'm only working on one right now, and I'll work on that one for, it's an evergreen product, so I'll work on it for a while. And I share that all over social media. But Mike reached out to these gurus, and most ignored him. But Mike's product launch was still very successful. And the reason it was successful is because Mike had allied himself with a bunch of other people at his level, you know. So he couldn't get the big dogs, the people who were, you know, my friend, the late Mark Hendricks, talked about A level, B level, C level. He said, you know, say you're B level. Okay, there's these people that are above you who are doing quite well. And then there's people at your level who they're the same as you. And you're better off at times allying with those people because when you ally with those people, they're the ones that are going to help you the most. Okay, and I'm monitoring who's joining me, like Ed Sykes just joined me, and I appreciate that. And I encourage you guys to leave your comments and things in the comment section. I'm not seeing any comments, but I may be just on the wrong page. But I encourage you to talk to me. I'm actually going to bring up another tab so I can see what you're seeing. There we go. Okay, yeah, I see Andre mentioned James Maduke and Michael Senoff are additional mentors. James Maduke is a good buddy of mine, and I have an interesting story to tell about him. Well, James, he used to run sales where he mentioned today's special offer, I think it was, and that was a trademark term of the Home Shopping Network, I think it was, and they wrote me a letter, a cease and desist letter, threatening me because James had me as a testimonial on his page, and they thought that it was me using their trademark term, and I sort of laughed it off. But I sent James over a copy of the letter and said, you know, I'm being sued because of a term you use. You know, people trademark terms. Michael Senoff offers a bunch of interviews from his site that are hard to find seminars, is what I think is what he calls the site. But he has some of my material on the site, actually, and I've learned a lot from James too. But getting back to Mike couldn't get the big dogs on board at first, so he turned to his brat pack, what you call them, and these were people at his level. These people promoted his product, and they made him a success. And then after all those people were promoting his product, then the big dogs noticed him, and they came on board. You know, so when you're first doing a product launch, if you're an unknown, unless you somehow can leverage the name of someone else, several other people, you know, get them to roll in on your project, expect slow growth. That's my message there. But again, what I'm doing with this Facebook Live is encourage you to go and get Marlon's training, where he teaches you little known things that most internet marketers will never learn. Most people trying to start a business online, regardless of niche, will never learn. And so I believe in Marlon's product enough to dedicate like 30 minutes already to encouraging you to go and check it out. I encourage you also to share this Facebook Live. I may go through, edit out my coughs because the weather's bouncing around so much here in Florida right now that one night we're like in the lows in the 70s, high 70s, and then the next night the lows are in the 40s. And so that can affect your resistance. It's affecting my voice. And that's why I keep a bottle of water nearby. Well, I keep a bottle of water nearby so I can stay hydrated too. But I will end this for now. I've rambled on long enough. I thank you for tuning in to me. I encourage you, those of you who are marketers or of whatever, we all have pet projects. We all have things that we want to promote. I encourage you to use Facebook Lives. People buy into the projects of and the thoughts of those whom they know, like, and trust. And there's nothing that lets people know you better than being on live video. Some of us are uncomfortable on live video. I have friends who on their social media profiles have pictures that are 10, 20 years old, and then I see another picture in place posted somewhere where they may be at a party or some award ceremony, and I'm like, wait, that's you? We are what you are, and so you don't need to be afraid of letting people see who you are. I was almost gray, and then my wife said, well, you need to color your hair and make me look old. She's older than I am, and so she dyed my hair, and now it's growing back out gray, but it's also brownish red because my hair was always brownish red. The high cheekbones and the hair color, that's part of my genetics. My mother's father was part American Indian, so I'm part Native American, and so I am what I am. I joke about a big nose. When my wife first met me, she said she looked at my picture, she covered the nose, and she said, "Oh, he's pretty good looking except for the nose." It is what it is. You don't need to be afraid of who you are, and let people see who you are. Be authentic. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to, again, encourage you to check out williecrawford.org/Marlon and make the M in Marlon. That's capital M-A-R-L-O-N. Check it out. Grab Marlon's package. Contact me via email, text message, or Facebook Messenger saying, hey, Willie, I grabbed Marlon's package, and I'll give you the interviews I did with Marlon and Mike, the MP3s. I'll send those over as soon as I notice that, your message. It's getting late here, so I may go to sleep for a while, but whenever I notice it, or whenever somebody on my team notices it, we'll get you over the links to download that. I noticed I've just been joined by I don't know whether to call him a jarhead or a devil dog. It's Ken Chandler, my friend from North Carolina, who's a Marine, and Vicky Ma just joined me too, as I get ready to wrap things up. So in a little while, the recording will be available. Again, I'm going to download it and edit it and share it in a few other places because I spent as much time coughing as I did talking. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for joining me, and love you guys. Bye.